there's something
To make
here.
a gripping horror film, the filmmaker must be able to include scary elements, which can make the audience afraid. Apart from requiring the right setting, visuals and music, a horror film will feel optimal if the film also features terrifying ghosts. There are many ghosts in horror films that are made differently. But in this video, we will discuss the scariest ghosts ever presented in a horror film. What are these ghosts? Check out the following. Number 10. The Grady Twins. The film The Shining is adapted from the classic horror novel by Stephen King with the same title. Although King was not completely satisfied with this film, The Shining is known as one of the best horror films of all time. The Shining follows the story of the Torrance family who accept jobs as guards at the remote Overlook Hotel. Jack Torrance hopes to get inspiration for his writing at the hotel. However, mystical things that occur begin to affect the Torrance family. This film features twin ghosts who, although they look cute, are very scary and have a dark history. The caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, Delbert Grady, apparently brutally murdered his twin daughters, and that's the figure we see in The Shining. The twin ghosts are seen several times in the film. But the most goosebump-inducing scene showing the ghosts is when they appear at the end of a long hallway, while Danny Torrance rides his toy tricycle. Actually, these ghosts have the nickname the Grady Twins. They may be the most harmless, but very scary. All they want to do is play, but forever.
Here's Johnny!
Number 9. Candyman. Candyman is a supernatural horror film released in 1992 and directed by Bernard Rose. This film is adapted from Clive Barker's short story entitled The Forbidden. Candyman follows the story of Helen Lyle, a graduate student conducting research on the urban legend of Candyman. In his search, he discovers that the legend has very real roots when people in his neighborhood begin to mysteriously disappear or die. Helen becomes increasingly obsessed with Candyman and even tries to summon him. However, as tragedy and death increasingly involve her, Helen begins to question the reality and existence of Candyman. Is Candyman just a myth, or does he have more powerful and real powers? Candyman has hook hands, and besides that, he has a swarm of bees on his body, which makes him scary. Even so, he is basically harmless. Candyman only appears when someone says his name 5 times, and that's the only way he kills someone. Candyman has slaughtered many people with his hook hands. Number 8. Samara. The Ring, 2002, is an American horror film directed by Gore Verbinski. This film is an adaptation of the 1998 Japanese film Ringu, which was adapted from Koji Suzuki's novel. The film tells the story of Rachel Keller, a journalist, who learns of the death of her best friend after watching a video that reportedly carries a fatal curse. Intrigued by this story, Rachel traces the video and discovers that everyone who watches it will receive a mysterious phone call announcing that they only have 7 days to live. Rachel decides to watch the video and immediately realizes that the curse is true. In 7 tense days, Rachel tries to find out more about the origins of the video and uncovers a dark secret involving a mysterious little girl named Samara. Samara does have a scary face. Her long, wet hair completed her ghastly appearance. Samara will kill people who watch the cursed video. Although it is unclear how exactly he killed, he would leave his victims completely disfigured. Samara has a sad background. During his lifetime, Samara's family abused him and left him to rot in a well. Number 7. Kaiako. This ghost appears in the film The Grudge. The Grudge is an American remake of the Japanese film Ju-on, The Grudge, which was released in 2002. Director Takashi Shimizu also directed the American version. The film tells the story of Karen Davis, a foreign exchange student in Tokyo, who volunteers to care for an elderly woman, Emma. Emma seems to be infected by a curse in a terrible house. As time goes by, Karen realizes that the house is the site of a terrible tragedy and a curse that spreads to everyone who enters. Kaiako is one of the ghosts that appears in this film. Apart from Kaiako, There is actually another little boy named Toshio. Kaiako is really scary. His cruel behavior and murderous tendencies made him greatly feared. Kaiako was originally an ordinary housewife. But one day, her husband brutally murdered her and her son. Because they died tragically, a curse emerged called the Grudge. That's what ultimately makes them return as cruel spirits. Kaiako will wreak havoc on humanity, and spread the curse by killing whoever she can. Number 6. The Bride in Black. Insidious, Chapter 2 continues the story of the first Insidious film. The film explores more deeply the Lambert family's background and mysteries involving the spirit world and other dimensions. The investigation carried out by Josh and Renee takes them deeper into their dark past and reveals surprising secrets. They learn that the curse haunting the Lambert family is closely connected to Josh's past and the unpredictable influence of the spirit world. The first Insidious film featured many evil entities, while The Bride in Black is one of the scariest evil ghosts, and she is featured as the main antagonist in the film Insidious, Chapter 2.
Little girls need to learn to be good.
Actually, The Bride in Black has been attached to Josh Lambert and has been there since his childhood. While The Bride in Black wasn't particularly dangerous during Josh's teenage years, it was clear that the entity could target children. The Bride in Black is actually the alter ego of a man named Parker Crane. Parker grew up in an abusive family, which left him traumatized in his female alter ego body. As an adult, Parker was a serial killer who wore the Bride in Black outfit to kill women. Number 5. Bathsheba. Conjuring was directed by James Wan and written by Chad Hayes and Carrie W. Hayes. This film is considered one of the most successful and frightening horror films in its release year in 2013. The Conjuring tells the story of the gripping case faced by Ed and Lorraine Warren, a pair of famous psychics, when they were called to investigate paranormal events in the Perron family home. The family has just moved into their new home in Harrisville, and soon they begin to experience strange and frightening events. Ed and Lorraine discover that the house is haunted by a powerful evil force, and they must fight to protect the Perron family from an unseen threat. Conditions worsen, forcing them to confront very dangerous supernatural forces. Well, one of the figures responsible for these terrible incidents was Bathsheba. The figure attaches itself to Carolyn Perron and possesses her. Bathsheba intended to manipulate Carolyn into killing her children. Every ghost seen in The Conjuring dies at the hands of the evil ghost Bathsheba. During her lifetime, Bathsheba was an evil witch who killed her own child. Bathsheba finally died by hanging and cursed everyone.
By the power of God, I condemn you back to hell!
Number 4. A Nightmare on Elm Street. The film tells the story of a group of teenagers who begin having terrifying nightmares involving men with burnt faces and knife-wielding gloves. They realize that they are all dreaming about the same character, Freddy Krueger, who is actually a child killer. Whoever the victim is killed in the dream, that person will die in the real world. These teenagers, led by Nancy Thompson, must find a way to fight Freddy and stop the nightmares that are increasingly frightening and real. Freddy Krueger is indeed a familiar figure to our ears. He is known to have sharp nails, and wears striped sweaters. He did not hesitate to abuse the victim before finishing him off on the same occasion. During his lifetime, Freddy Krueger was also famous as a monster. He was a serial killer and he would prey on children in the worst ways imaginable. When Freddy died, he gained demonic powers from the dream demons. That's why Freddy Krueger is a frightening figure both alive and dead. Number 3. 13 Ghosts. 13 Ghosts, 2001, directed by Steve Beck. This film is a remake of the classic 1960 horror film of the same name. This new version was released in 2001, after the sudden death of his wife, Arthur Criticos, and his two children, Kathy and Bobby, inherit a mansion from their distant cousin. As it turns out, the house was designed as a prison for 13 ghosts acquired by the previous owner, Cyrus Criticos, who sought to gain supernatural powers. Arthur and his family soon realize that the house is no ordinary residence, and they must fight to survive when dangerous ghosts are unleashed. In this film, we are introduced to a ghost nicknamed the Jackal. He is the most terrifying ghost of the 13 other ghosts. The Jackal is also referred to as the ghost of Charles Manson. Apart from his frightening appearance, the Jackal is also very cruel. In the film, he attacks Kathy Kritikos immediately after she is released from the Basileus machine. During his lifetime, Jackal, whose real name was Ryan Kuhn, was a serial killer and predator who looked for children to use as victims. He too has lost his sense of humanity and life. As a ghost, he was much scarier than when he was alive. Number 2. Fairs. Mostly Ghostly, Who Let the Ghosts Out is a horror film released in 2008. This film was directed by Rich Correll and adapted from the children's book series created by R.L. Stine. The film tells the story of Max Doyle, a teenager who can communicate with ghosts, finding an old book that can free an evil spirit called Fairs. As a result, Max is caught in a conflict between good and evil spirits.
Yes, but watch.
She is aided by her two best friend ghosts, Nikki and Tara, in their efforts to stop Fairs before she causes uncontrollable damage. Even though this film is a mix of horror and comedy, even so, the ghost in the film, Fairs, is quite scary. Apart from his terrifying appearance and very sharp teeth, he also threatens Max and his ghost friends, Nikki and Tara. Fairs often threatens children with physical violence and his goal is to cause harm to the majority of humanity.
There is a magician, and he too will be destroyed.
Number 1. Valic. Like the first film, The Conjuring 2 also takes inspiration from real cases faced by Ed and Lorraine Warren. The main focus of the film is the events at Hodgson's home in Enfield, England, which is known for supernatural activity. Here, a girl named Janet Hodgson seems to be the main target of the evil forces that haunt their home. In their investigation, Ed and Lorraine encounter various frightening supernatural events and even involve a scary demon. One of the figures considered to be the scariest that appears in this film is Valic. It is said that Valic is actually a terrible figure. Its main power is not very clear, but its appearance always gives rise to negative energy. Apart from that, he is also able to control human spirits. But interestingly, there is a big weakness that Valic has, namely that when his name is known, Valic can be returned to hell. Actually, director James Wan had the idea about Valic's form. Wan developed the character of Valic into an evil nun who was inspired by a real spirit creature that often bothered Lorraine. These are some of the most terrifying ghosts ever shown in horror films. These ghosts have terrible forms, and some of them do not hesitate to kill their victims. They have also become legendary ghosts, and it seems that people will always remember them. That's enough for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel to help us to more enthusiastic about presenting other top 10 videos. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.